Alright, hello everyone, my name is Timothy Lee Grant and welcome back to another engineering investigation video. So here in this engineering investigation series, what the idea is I am hunting for different concepts and ideas in engineering which I'm not too familiar with. So each time I come across a concept which, I'm either I don't know, I've never heard of, or I'm just a little bit unsure about, I take a little note, I write that down, and then after I am able to relax a little bit, okay, great. Now it's time to go in and investigate. What is this? How is it working? Why is it working? What's happening here? Now, this is something which you don't, it's a lot of times when you encounter these problems, you're able to kind of gloss over them and you get your project working and you're just like, you forget about them. But I think it's super important to take the time to actually go over them, try to understand them. And that way, when you have encounters with them the next time, okay, well, now you have a deeper understanding of each of those concepts which you have already encountered. So that's what I'm trying to do in this video. It's very relaxed. We're just going through things, trying to understand better. So that's what these series are. And my goodness, I am tired. I did not want to make a video today. I had to like force myself. When I got home from work today, I was just like, sleep. I want to sleep. But do you know what's worse than taking a lazy step forward? Not taking any step forward. So we are going to practice that today and take a step forward no matter what it is, either lazy or a bold step. Either way, we are going to be taking a step forward. So the other thing about this video is, a lot of times when I film my videos, I will get some comments on the video saying like, this guy is just an idiot. He doesn't know these basic things. And the point that I make with these videos is I want to showcase like there. I don't. It's actually a really bad thing if you try to let your ego get in the way of stopping you from learning. And I'll give an example, which is a long time ago when I was trying to do Calc 2, which is integral calculus. When I was learning integral calculus, I was having a really difficult time with this class. And one of my coworkers, he was an older engineer, he told me, no, you're not having a problem with calculus. You're having a problem with a specific topic. What you need to do, or a specific concept, what you need to do is your task is to find the concept which you are or that you are not understanding and kill it. So this was actually incredible advice because I stopped saying like, oh, calculus, I have a problem with calculus, and I started to be like, okay, well, what exactly do I have a problem with? And I traced it down. Remember, I was in integral calculus at that time. I traced it down to something which was in algebra. Now, normally, when I did that, I felt very much like, oh man, this is why am I spending my time looking at algebra concepts? And your ego tries to kind of protect yourself and be like, I already understand this. I'm not going there. Um, but I went there anyways. And the result was I was able to go in, find the actual concept which I didn't understand it, and then all of a sudden everything else just flowed because I understood the concept that was causing me this issue. And I think that a lot of times there's a idea of like just letting your ego get in the way of stopping you from learning. So anyways, in this video we are going to be covering some slightly basic stuff. So if anyone ever wanted a video for fodder of like saying how stupid I am, congratulations, here's your video. Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to understand this idea of static a little bit more. So I was encountering this problem where I was in C Sharp, where I was declaring some things static and other things not static, and the compiler was very unhappy with me. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on and why is this happening. So let's I'm gonna make myself a little bit smaller. I have Visual Studio Code up here, but we're not gonna use that yet. We're gonna go into Copilot, and I'm gonna try to explain the situation and see if it understands. Then come here to Visual Studio and then try to write out a situation that would or would not trigger these problems. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. We have other topics. I wrote them down, as I said. So like the other one is when you're doing your main entry point in C Sharp, if you have the brackets, it requires the constructor, but if you don't have the brackets, you're fine. So I'm trying to figure that one out too. So we have a couple little things that we're trying to do. So first question, we're talking about static. So I'm gonna say, what does, oops, verify that I'm a human. Yep. Okay. Does static mean? And then there was something about like making it available across all instances. Now, I know instantiating an object, okay? And now it's a real object, okay? You declare it. Now, this object has static member variables. Does that mean that I'm able to access it outside of the class, I guess? So, let's see. I'm just going to say something about, and then making it available to all available across 2/ across all instances. Okay, what does that mean? And then what or how, okay, how can you have private static? Aren't those the exact opposite? Because private is constricting the scope. Static is, or sorry, static should be allowing the scope. It's widening up the scope. Static, I keep saying this backwards, sorry. Yes, static is exposing it. You're widening the scope. Private is constricting the scope. So how do you have private static? This doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to ask this, and then once we start to understand things a little bit more, we're going to ask follow-up questions. Then we are going to go to Visual Studio and try to actually code something up. So I should have said in C Sharp. Is it? This is Java. Okay. In C Sharp, I'm just gonna go like this. All right, so static in C Sharp. A static member field property method, and that's the other thing. I want to figure out, like, okay, if you have static, you can have a static function, you can have a static class, you can have a static member variable. There's a lot of static things that you can have. And what is the effect of each of those static things? So a static member, like a field, property, or method, belongs to the class itself, not to an instance. Okay, static member belongs to the class itself, not any instance. I don't really get that. That's fine. You access it with the class name, not an object. So console write and then math.py static field. result math.absolute -5. Instance versus static. So instance field, each object gets its own copy. Instance field, each object gets its own copy. Static field, one copy shared by all objects. What is instance field? What is static field? I didn't explain this. I'm not sure. Class counter. Public static int. So why is this shared? Okay, this isn't doing public counter count plus plus. Is this the constructor right there? Okay, so we instantiate one, and it's going to do count plus plus, and then we do a separate object. And okay, I think I kind of see what's happening here. So we have this like static member variable inside of a class, and each time the class is instantiated across all objects or instances, this count variable actually is able to retain its value. So in like C, I know that static means that if I have a static int count equals 0, and then I call that function again, let's say I have a function, it declares this static variable like that, right? And then I increment it like this in the function, and then I leave the scope of the function, but then I come back, this counter variable is still there, and it's now at 1. It retains its value. So it's like it doesn't go out of scope, essentially. Okay, so this is kind of like you have these different objects, and they share this same variable, kind of like this same memory space. Okay, interesting. Instance versus static. But I still don't know what an instance field is. Each object gets its own copy. Okay, each object gets its own copy. Now this kind of makes more sense. Static field, one copy shared by all objects. Okay, kind of got it. Kind of, like this much. Private static in C#. Private controls visibility, who can access it. Static controls ownership. Class versus instance. Okay, so static is about class versus instance. This is what I need to think of when I think of the word static. It is ownership. Who owns this variable? Is it the class or is it the specific instance? Okay. Together, all right, shared across all instances, but only accessible inside the class. Okay, that now it's starting to make a little bit more sense to me. Okay, so private means only accessible inside the class. That's private. So I can't access it outside. Okay. So let me just come here and let's new terminal. Come here and do .net. What is the .net build? Not build. Create project console app. Okay, what's the .NET new console. Okay. New. Okay. All right, there we go. So now we have this, and we should be able to, let's see, class config. Singleton. Okay. And the other thing that I do want to get into as well is when I kind of mentioned this about the start of the entry point is okay, how do I actually get that to trigger? There's multiple ways. I could have something like down here that says, let me get this Copilot out of the way. Hold on a second. There. Okay. It's like cluttering up everything. So you can have like your class here. Class white. I hate how this does that. Who? But anyways, you can have your class. This is literally what I wanted to do, but I'm trying to learn it. Program like this, and then you have this right here. Why is this doing this? Why? I updated my Visual Studio Code, and now all of a sudden the autocomplete is like really smart. Okay, but anyways, class program, and then I have the main function. And by the way, right now we're kind of taking a little bit of a detour. I said that I was going to do two things, right? And now I'm to try to practice this, I need to do the other thing, which is understand the entry points a little bit more. Then we're going to try to go and bring in what we just learned. So class program, and then we have static void main, and we have like this. Okay, stop doing that. Stop. Okay. Class program, what's wrong with this? Missing partial modifier or declaration. Okay, I think what's going on is public static program. No. Why is it unhappy? I don't know. We'll figure that out later. Okay, so what do I want to do? I guess actually, yeah, the console.write line. Hello, my friend. Okay. So now I want to run this. Obviously, we're going to get some kind of compilation error. I delete you. Okay. Ah, it went away. Hey. Wait, hold on. Why did it have an error in the first place? You thought you could trick me. Hold on a second. We go back. Why? I caught you. I caught you. Okay. Why did this give me an error, but when I remove the top right line, the error goes away? Yep. That's right. Okay, so this is a C# compiler rule issue, not about stat. Right, we're kind of taking a little bit of a detour. That's right. Okay, so why the error happens. In C#, all executable statements must be inside a method or property. Is that true? I don't think that's true because I've seen code, and I don't know why it works, but I've seen code like this, okay? You have code here, then you have something which is similar to this. You have var my program equals new program like this, and then my, okay, can I just like who are you? Except line, always show toolbar. No. Okay. I want to like revert my update to Visual Studio Code. Anyways, so I've seen stuff like this where we have a class up here and then we have executable code down here, and it calls the class up here and then instantiates, or I guess I should use the correct terminology, instantiates the class, right? Then it calls the method. I've seen this, so I don't believe this right now. Okay, so that the first is outside of any class or method. The compiler sees this as top-level code, but you also declare main method that conflicts. Okay, is it because it doesn't like the main, right? So I'm thinking that there's two ways to have an entry point. Either you have executable code, which would be something like this right here, or you have this main way. And the compiler is saying, hey, I don't know what to do. There's executable code and there's a main. Okay. So since C# 9, does that mean .NET 9, or like what does it mean C# 9? You can write top-level statements like console write without a main method. The compiler automatically generates a hidden main for you. But if you also declare your own main, you now have two entry points. What I was just saying. Okay, you explicitly wrote one in program. See? We could have just deleted this and we would have been happy. Let me underscore main like this, and now I do underscore main like this, right? Okay. It's still unhappy. We're not sure why. Okay. Okay. So this is going to be our next question. Why is this unhappy? How to fix it like this. Great. Okay. But I have seen code like this where we have executable code at the bottom, which instantiates an object of the class above. How can this work? Note, the actual code I am showing you is giving me an error, but I remember something like this. Okay. Okay, so why your why your code has errors. Var, okay, you declared program as a static class. Back to statics. We have returned. Okay, in C#, a static class cannot be instantiated. What? Why? New program is illegal. That's why the compiler complained. Hold on, let me just remove this. Okay, let me just... I'm still getting an error. Public class. Okay. That's why what you probably saw before is something like this. Public class program. Okay, public void main. So public, okay. Public void underscore main. New program. My program. Okay, we're just gonna copy you and paste you in here and see. So I was thinking maybe it was like maybe it was a typo or something, but no, we're still getting this problem. So now we have multiple things that are kind of like confounding us right now. So, okay. Static class cannot be instantiated. So a static class can never be instantiated? Does that... All members must be stat. So inside of a static class, all members must be static. See, we're going to have to practice this. This doesn't make any sense. It's used for utility or helper classes. Okay. Normal class can be instantiated. So what is valid. But again, this is not working. Like, this is still giving me an error. What is the specific error? Let me just .NET build, and then I'm going to copy and paste the error in here. I can actually just get rid of that. Okay, so copy this error and put it into there. All right. So, got it. This error message is very specific to how C# handles top-level statements. Let's unpack it. What the error means. Top-level statement must precede namespace and declaration types. Okay. Yeah. Since C#9, you can write top-level statements like var my program here. But the rule is all top-level statements must come before any class / namespace. Okay. Let me get rid of these two things, and let's try it. Still. Another partial declaration of this type exists. Really? Okay, so now we're getting a different error. So let's do this. Okay. All right. Oh, I thought that this was going to be a little bit... We're all tangled up in weeds right now. This is a different compiler error. Okay, but now it's about duplicate class definitions. The error, missing partial modifier on declaration of type program. Another partial declaration of this type exists. This means the compiler has found two definitions of program. Okay, but No. When you create, the template already generates a program class behind the scenes. Okay. The auto-generate program. Okay. The compiler sees What? Wait, what? Wait, hold on. The template already generates a program class behind the scenes. Okay, so my program underscore or little my program, okay? And now it's happy. Okay, so don't use the word program. That's what we learned because C# automatically generates something which is called program. Now, let me do the .NET build and let's run it. Okay, .NET build. We should get it. Build succeeded. Okay, .NET run, and we should see it. Hello, my friend. Okay, now let's change it. So we're going to get rid of you, and we are going to get rid of you. And inside of here, we are going to have this main, but it is like this one. Okay. So now I am going to do the same thing. .NET build. Okay. This is a lot of setup work before we're even able to start with the statics. A classic entry point error, yeah. The program does not contain now we're back to static. Okay. Now we are back to static. Awesome. The entry point of the runtime calls when you launch a okay, so by convention that name is main, yes. Static so that the runtime can call it without creating an object first. Now all of a sudden it means that you don't create an object? So what does static mean? I'm hearing its ownership, that a variable is owned by the object, not the specific instance. But now I'm hearing that what was it? Where did it just say? I can call it without creating an object. And then I also heard something about you're not able to instantiate a static object. No, this is there's a lot of things going on and I'm unsure about them. And that's what we're trying to figure out. Okay. So let's public static. Let's just see if this works. Now I need okay. Sir. Hold on. Inline suggestion, reject, show collapse, settings. Who? This is Copilot. Oh, okay. Because I see what's going on. I did so I've been experimenting with vibe coding, right? And because of that, that's why I have this guy out here. This where'd you go? Anyways, I had that. You remember that the Copilot that was like right here, right? So I had Copilot there, and it was the agent version of Copilot. And so I was able to do vibe coding, just like experimenting with different tools. You know, those I have multiple different series on this YouTube channel. I have the Copilot or the vibe coding series. I have LeetCode. I have like engineering investigation, which is this one. I have a whole bunch of different series. So now because I installed Copilot on my Visual Studio Code, I didn't realize I also get the like whatever inline things. So let's see. I can come here. Controls whether showing a suggestion will shift the code. How do I just turn it off? Editor, inline suggestion. So I don't want to be doing this if I'm trying to learn, right? Like, okay. Let's just say never and never. And allow white space only, change whatever this is. Next edit suggestion, no. Next edit suggest fixes, no. Okay. Are we good now? I hope we're good. Okay. Now, can I come here? Public static void main. Okay, awesome. There we go. There we go. Good. So we fixed that problem. We don't quite understand it yet. There's a lot that we don't understand. Let's see if it builds. Successful. Now let's run it. And we get the expected thing. Okay, so now we're going to go back here to technically Copilot, right? But this is like the ChatGPT version of Copilot. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and I am going to say what? Now that I got a working project in C#, I am trying to understand what? I'm trying to understand the static. Why was I getting errors for static within the class? Okay. How do I even phrase this question? It's like the class was causing me a error because it wasn't static, but I can't instantiate a static. The class was giving me an error because it wasn't static, but I am not even allowed to instantiate a static class. I'm just going to say, how does that make any sense? Okay. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, but I thought that what? That static had to do with ownership, as you said above. But now it has to do with if a class can be instantiated. I am very confused right now. So we're going to be doing this and it's going to come and all right. Okay, so here we go. When you mark a field, property or method. So now we're not talking about the class, right? We're talking about the field, property, method. It belongs to the class itself, not a individual instance. So that's the ownership part, right? Like if we have a member variable within a class and it is static, it is owned by the object, the class, and that's that counter that keeps its count throughout multiple different instantiations of the object. Okay, that's for static members. Now, static classes are different. Okay, now it's making a differentiation, and I need to be aware of this. Okay, so count is shared across counter objects. Okay, yeah. This is the ownership idea we talked about earlier. I remember this. Okay, yes. And by the way, I think that this is actually a fairly good example, right? Like, we got the program working. We could have just said, all right, it's working. Great, let's move on. But this is exactly what I'm trying to do with the engineering investigation videos is, okay, it's not just about getting the project working. It's understanding why did it work? How did it work? And why is it this exact configuration that actually caused it to click and say, ding, you got the right answer. Okay. So we could have just, like, normally, you're doing your project, you get something that works and you're like, all right, we got it working. Let's go. Let's now code out some more. Blah, 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 blah. It's coding time. But what I'm trying to do is really say, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's figure out why it worked. Let's figure out how. And let's understand the concepts behind it. So, anyways, all right, static classes. When you mark the class itself as static, so now we're talking about the class, the compiler enforces you cannot instantiate it. Okay, so this is just a rule. I'm going to say that it's a rule. If you have a static class, you are not allowed to say new and then class. Not allowed to do that. Okay? You cannot instantiate it. It's illegal. Let's do it again. Let's make sure that it's illegal. So I'm gonna have we didn't get rid of it. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Let's say public. Is there something that says like inline setting sync is on? This is Copilot. No, where? Anyways, okay. I don't want to be messing around too much with it right now. I just want to a public. That's really annoying. Never. No, I don't want to explain anything. I just want it gone. How did I get to that? There was a thing that always show toolbar except line. There was something. How did I get to? This was only one of the buttons that was available. This one? Okay, well. Is it this one? Inline suggestions. Right, and we are back. So I clicked on the little thing and it took me to the internet and showed my banking information. So we're editing that part out. Anyways, fine. Static, great. Class, and then example class like this, and then I'm going to have this, and this is just getting so. How do I turn off inline suggestions from Copilot on VS Code. Okay. Status bar toggle. At the bottom right of VS Code, you'll see you can choose it and disable. Is that true? Hide suggestions. This is the button that takes me over, and that I'm not touching that button. Snooze. If I just do this, pause 5 minutes. Can I do a? Okay. Here we go. Here we go. We're good now. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so nice. It's not getting in my way. Okay, finally. We are so back. We are back. Okay, so now I'm gonna have a public method, public void, we'll say, and then my example method, okay, like this, takes in no parameters, and we are going to say console.writeLine good morning, like this, okay, and then we are going to return like this, and you are unhappy. Okay. Oh, right. So this was another rule. If you remember, there were 2 rules. Now, the second rule up here was all members inside must be static. So it's unhappy because this needs to be public static void, like that, and it's happy. I want to experiment. What if I did static here? Public void stat. Why is static not allowed to be here, but it has to be here? Anyways, but it's happy. So now let's prove that we're not able to instantiate it. So inside of here, I'm going to say var, let's see, example class this should be capitalized, and this should be capitalized. Example class, yep, is equal to new I also don't have a constructor as well. Example class like this, and it should be unhappy because of the static, right? Let me move myself out of the way. Cannot create an instance of the static class. Yep. So also, if I have something like this, public static void, and this is another question that I have. So we're gonna get into here, and I'm gonna say like this, and I don't know, we're just gonna do nothing. Void type. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Let's just say like this. We're going to get rid of you, okay? And we're going to get rid of you. Okay. Now, you are happy, but you are upset. Any member declaration. So I think if I go like this, So why do I need this or not need this? Like, I remember, or is it this one that I don't need it? There was one that I could omit the parentheses. By the way, we did prove that now it's good. So we took away the static part. Okay. But that doesn't explain the parentheses. Okay. So I'm going to come here, and I am going to put it into here. Okay. Let's read through this and try to make sure that we understand it. So if you declared a non-static class, but a static method named main. Okay. A non-static class, okay, but a static method named main inside, that's fine. Okay, so if I have, let's also verify that. Let's public static. Yep, apparently. So this method can be static. Now, can I do something like example class dot my this? Is it going to be unhappy because it's static? See, now it's happy. .NET build. .NET run. Good morning, right there. Okay. So we've proven that we are able to have a static method within a non-static class, which is what it said, but I was unable to call that method from within the class. Okay. Or from outside of the class. If you declare a static class but try to add non-static members, you'll get errors. The compiler is strict. A static class is only for static members, never for objects, okay? So static members is shared across instances, but why was I just blocked? They're related but not identical. Okay, so this idea of a static member and a static class, they are different. I should not confuse these two. A normal class is a blueprint. A static class is a toolbox of functions. You don't make a math object, you call I'm starting to kind of think I see it. So within a static class, you're allowed to just call the methods. You don't even need to instantiate anything. You just call it. Okay. So it's like a library. Okay. You don't instantiate a math object, you just call it. It's just a collection of functions that you're allowed to call. Okay. Okay, so now, what was my question? I even forgot my question. My question was, why was I unable to... Okay. Can you tell me more about how static methods are used? How and what static methods are. I attempted to do public static void my example method, and it got angry at me when I tried to instantiate it. To instantiate the, or call the method. That method in my main. Okay. Another question that I have is, I know that I saw no parentheses after one of the methods in other people's code. Why were they allowed to do that? What does it mean? Okay. All right, now we have to go back up. Okay. Okay, what static methods are. A static method belongs to the class itself. It's not an instance. Now this one belongs to the class itself? It's not an instance of the class. Okay. You're calling it using the name, the class name, not an object. Okay. Public class, my example. Public static void, here. I'm static, yep. Example class. Does this mean without instantiating it? Can I go, hold on a second, can I go like this? Public static void static function method console.writeLine here, and then say inside static, okay, like this. Now, I'm not going to instantiate any method or any object. I'm going to say example class, okay, dot, and I'm just going to go straight to this. I'm just going to call this method. Like that. And we don't get an error. Okay. Okay. Let's .NET build. No errors. Come on, let's see it. Let's see it. Inside the step. Okay. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, okay, got it, got it, got it. Okay, so let me just recap. I need to, we did it, but I need to just say it out loud. What happened just now? So I had this class. So I have this class. It is a non-static class, okay? which means that the member variables or the members can either be static or non-static. It's up to me. I then said one of my my methods within the class, I said it is static, which meant I got an error when I tried to call it from a instance. So I tried to call it from an instance, error. Instead, I called the class itself without instantiating anything. I called the class and that worked. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and this is wrong. Yep. Why my attempt failed. Okay. Static versus instance method. So instance method require an object. Static method requires no object, called directly on the class. Think of static as global helpers scoped to a class, while instance methods are actions tied to the specific object, that specific object. Now, the second question that we still need to investigate this a little bit more. We're not just moving on from that. We still need to investigate it. But let's try to figure out this one because I just remembered that. Oh yeah, this was kind of another question and thing that I came across, and I'm like, oh, I don't get it. Okay, this is another subtlety in C#. Methods require parentheses when you call them, but sometimes you see code like this. No, that's normal. Notice how no parentheses after now. Okay, well, that's a cool, like, that's something I wasn't even thinking of. But now that you bring it up, okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, like, like, I would see, like, main, and then, like that, you know? But, yeah, well, hold on. What's going on here? That's because now is a property, not a method. What's a property? Properties look like fields when you use them. But under the hood, they're special methods. So getters and setters, okay. Yep, I've seen this. And I was wondering how they just had this, like, very shorthand notation. Because normally what you would have to do is do, like, get name, and then you would have to do return self dot name or something like that. But I was seeing in C# you can just do public string name and then parentheses get set. Done. Okay. So methods always need this. Properties accessed without here, even though they're implied as methods internally. Okay. Getters, setters, that's fine. I'm gonna say I was meaning more of seeing no parentheses around main method. It was something about around main. I can't remember where I saw it or how that worked. I don't think it had to do with delegates. Okay, maybe I'm just going crazy. I thought that it was just like no. So notice, and I'm just looking. We have static here. What does that mean? That means that I am able to do program dot main. come down here. Program.main, and we did not instantiate it. There it is. That's amazing. That's so cool. That's awesome. I think we're starting to get it. So back to static member variables. What are some examples of static member variables and their usage? Okay. A static field belongs to the class itself, not any instance. Okay. Yep. There's only one copy of the variable. Okay. Only one copy of the variable. When I have a static member, there's only one copy of it. Yep. It's accessed through class name member variable. Okay. Yep. So let's just do this counter. Let's say public static int counter equals 0, like this, right? And now I want to say counter plus plus. Can I do that? Okay, I can. C# has plus plus. Awesome. Okay. And I don't need to do self, right? Okay, sure. So I'm going to do that, and now I'm going to do this example class dot counter plus plus here, then so dot right line here, and then where's my $sign? $sign here, here, example class dot counter, like this. Okay. And now this should say 2, I think. .NET build. Okay, .NET run 2. Okay. 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 I'm starting to see. Okay. I need to think through this a little bit more. I think I'm to the point where I kind of understand it's fuzzy, but at least I understand it. Like I kind of have a conception of it. I need more time to practice. I need to let it sit within my mind and kind of seep into my subconscious. And I'll probably need to come back and revisit this and just do it a couple more times. But this time, I'm very glad that now I kind of have a footing by which I am able to understand this concept, and next time when I do encounter it, I am going to be able to get it correctly. Because if we had just gotten said, hey, it worked, let's stop here, let's not worry about things anymore, it's working. Okay, well then the next time you're going to stumble again, and you're not going to figure out, okay, well, what was the actual problem? Where is my misunderstanding? What do I need to focus on and fix? And then you come into it again, you stumble, but then you get it working, and you're like, okay, cool, it's working, that's great, let's move on. But now I do have at least, it's not a 100% understanding. I have like a 60% understanding. but at least I have the language now by which to articulate these questions themselves. And that way, when I come into it again in the future, it's not going to be stumbling. It's a new opportunity to practice. See, this is a fundamentally different situation. In the past, or if I had not done this engineering investigation video, it would have been, okay, well, I see this exact same thing come up in the future. And then I stumble on it and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just randomly doing things. And then I finally get the correct combination and bing, it unlocks and it works. And then I say, awesome, great, let's go. Let's go to the next thing. And then I didn't learn anything from that. I then the next day, so 3 days out, right? The next day I encounter it again. I stumble over it, right? Or however long it takes. And um, then I didn't learn anything again. But if you take the actual time to say, okay, well, let's figure it out. Let's understand the underlying concepts. Now, the next time, whenever that is, 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, a month, whenever it is, whenever I see the concepts come up again, all of a sudden now it's not stumbling and trying to find the right combination. Now it's an opportunity to practice and say, hey, I remember something about these concepts. Let me go and refresh and make sure that I fully understand the concept. So this is very different, and now I'm on the right track. So I'm very happy with the result of today's video, and I am glad that I forced myself to make this video and decided not to just fall asleep. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe. I would love to have you along on the journey. And I make videos about engineering, LeetCode videos, project videos, a whole bunch, wide range of videos. If that's interesting, subscribe. I would love to have you around. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you in the next video. All right, have a good day.